Others or the environment cannot deliver you from your feelings.
No.
That is something that is your responsibility.
Yes.
Because look, if they could, then you've given up your agency.
Yeah.
You've given up your autonomy. You've handed it over to them, and then you get disappointed and upset. Not you, but we get disappointed and upset when they don't deliver the way we think they should.
Right.
And that is something that happens again and again and again, and we continue to bang our heads against the wall thinking we're going to get different results.
Hi, I'm Caroline Howard, a biblical counselor and certified life breakthrough coach.
And I'm Chris Oneth, marriage and family therapist and executive director of Downey Park Counseling Associates.
Welcome to our next question, where we attempt to answer the questions of life through conversations in psychology and Christianity.
Remember, this is a place of discovery and definitely not the final answer.
My car has a megaphone.
Get out of town.
And my son loves to sit in the car and yell, like you turn on the megaphone thing, and so he can just talk in the car and it projects it out like a megaphone outside.
Oh, that
horrible. Is so rad.
So he loves to sit in the garage and be like, Mom, and it like changes his voice to this really deep, loud voice.
Wow.
It's hysterical.
That could be all sorts of abuse.
It could be all sorts of fun.
Citizen, you're under citizen's arrest.
Right.
Make people think you got a transformer.
Oh, gosh, yeah.
Oh, there you go. I'm going to start doing that.
Guy, he knew all the gadgets to throw in there, didn't he?
I've never heard of that.
Gadgets are great.
They are great.
It's so fun. Okay.
Nice.
Hey, here we are again.
Noise making water bottles.
I know. We're all about making noise
Who would
today.
have thunk it?
But we're also all about how do we approach people today.
Yes. How do we approach people?
Last week we talked about the 5 stages of acceptance.
When you're approached.
Like to grow, right?
Yes.
And change. And now we're going to talk about like, how do we approach someone when we see them doing something wrong or when they wronged us?
Well, okay. Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Yeah. And the important elements that we need to possess within ourselves.
Right.
In order to have a healthy approach.
Yes.
Because, I mean, come on. How many times we've all been there. I've been there.
Okay.
Where it's like I get so that the approach I know is not healthy, and it's
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yes.
Yes, exactly. Okay.
Totally.
Before we dive in, though, I have our icebreaker, get to know you, whatever we want to call it question.
Okay. Should we have special music for this? Dun, 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 dun. Spanish Flea.
There you go.
Dun, 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 dun.
Today's question is.
I'm going to edit in Chris's rendition.
What talent?
Oh, sorry.
What talent? You have to wrap it up, though. It has to be
Yeah.
short. What talent do you wish you had? Now, this isn't like, well, you could do anything you want if you put your mind to it. It's like maybe you really just don't possess the ability to do this, but you wish you could.
I wish I could see. Oh, I'm sorry. My eyesight is really not good.
That's why you wear glasses.
That's why I wear glasses. Every time I look at Caroline, I have the lazy eye that shoots up northward. I'm sure that's, yeah.
I never noticed that. Thank you. Now I'm going to notice
when
it.
I was a teacher, I brought to my seniors, I brought a picture of my family on a roller coaster, and you could see my eyeball that drifts. It was on its own course in this picture. And so I got one eye looking ahead and the other eye is looking at God knows what. And so I said, look at that. I go, I look stoned. And the entire class bursts out laughing like something they knew. And I'm like, what is going on there? And I read the room, right? I was like, what is going on there? And finally one of the students says, Mr. O, we seriously had conversations about you being stoned. Like they thought I was.
They actually thought you were.
Was there something in my behavior? Was I just not motivated? Was I staying in my seat? You judged this solely upon my wandering eyeball? So it was hilarious.
They were children.
And then there was a situation where I from time to time I smoke a pipe.
Okay.
And so years ago, one of our dear friends, Joanne Canoyer, approaches us because she had my youngest son in her Sunday school class. And she says to us, she says, Mel, Ian is telling the other kids that his dad smokes pot. And she's like, I don't think that he wants. I don't know that you guys would want him telling people. And so Joanne like approached him. It's like, are you sure your dad smokes pot? And he's like, yeah. And he's probably like 6.
Oh gosh.
He's like, yeah. I'm like, whoa, dude, the family secrets are out.
Right.
And so we approached him and we were like, Ian, what are you're saying I smoke pot? And he goes, yeah, on top of the fridge, the pot. And I'm like, son, that's a pipe. That is a pipe, a tobacco pipe, not pot. That's a whole different thing. They're going to put that together with the eyeball thing and forget about it. That's how rumors get started.
So is that your hidden talent?
Oh,
or the talent
I kind of ran with
had?
that one. Getting into trouble, I suppose. No, the hidden talent that I want.
The talent you wish you had. That's what it is. The talent.
Can I have time to think about it while you go?
Of course you can.
So
Thank
hard.
you.
Yeah. Oh, so mine is playing the piano or violin.
Oh.
I can sing. I have that musical ability.
Well, couldn't you do that if you put your mind to it?
No, I literally, something with my right brain and left brain don't connect where I could do the two things at once. But I listen to a lot of I'll just put on piano music or violin music because I just feel like the rhythmic motion of actually being able to play
were you
those.
actually told by a specialist? I'm sorry, you are a lost cause.
No. I took a lot of piano lessons as a kid.
Oh.
I did. And I
were you looking out the window or something?
I don't know what I was doing. There's just something in there. White girl can't click this.
Wow. I see.
Like rhythmic, both sides.
Can you play the triangle? You got to start there.
No. Okay. So I was given a tambourine when I did worship at Redeemer years ago.
Didn't they?
And what?
I said they took it away, didn't they?
They did. John Eck, love him. He's like, hey, just try this. He knew I had no rhythm. He's like, just try it. I mean,
honestly, tambourine's kind of a tough one. Like, it's a weird.
You think, right? You see the guy up there with the tambourine.
Thank you, Caleb,
doing
for
the
making
thing.
me feel better about myself.
Wait, so is it a rhythm thing? Part of the problem?
I think it is. I got no rhythm.
That's what it is.
I know. I mean, I try. Sometimes I'll just sit and be like, can I do this here and something else
music,
here, and I can't.
Don't got your guy who could ask for it.
But I wish I could. It just feels like it'd be so relaxing. And sometimes I wonder as I continue to heal my brain. That maybe eventually that will click.
Well, and maybe it's a threshold to be like, to that once you start to cross that, you're like, oh my gosh, worlds open up.
Right. So I haven't given up hope.
Good.
But it would be the talent I wish I had.
Dang.
Piano or violin.
Yeah.
Caleb, what do you got?
I'm really struggling here. I feel like there's a really good answer for this, but
I feel like you can do everything.
That's pretty true. The only thing I can't do currently is like unicycling. Would be kind of cool.
Okay.
Unicycling.
I can already juggle, so
wow.
I have a sister-in-law who can unicycle and juggle, or unicycle and play violin. She did so on top of Half Dome.
At the same time?
On top? Did you just say on top of Half Dome? Good gravy. People have fallen off. No, and I've been on top of Half Dome. I'm going through a fear response right now. I had to crawl up on my stomach and look over the edge.
I remember that
I couldn't imagine on a unicycle.
While playing a violin.
Wow, she must have hauled all that crap up there.
She's amazing.
Good, great. So she's got stamina too. Wow.
So yeah, unicycle. I mean, that'd be pretty cool.
Unicycle.
So is that a balance equilibrium thing that it's like you can develop that, but I mean you can develop it to some degree.
Her whole family, they do crazy stuff, and they have like really tall unicycles too that you have to like.
Oh no!
You have to like roll into it and like then jump on top of it and then like catch yourself.
Word.
It's crazy. Yeah.
They
should really have like a traveling circus or something.
I know. I'm like, I feel like, can you show us some video of
kind of feels small in comparison. No.
This is what I have to live up to now.
The pressure.
Man.
And play a violin.
Can't do that. I can do piano and
I guess with the unicycle was too easy. They had to.
It'd be hard to be on a unicycle and play piano.
I'll say.
You could do one of those. Remember
Balancing
back in the 80s, like the guitar.
The one-man band,
or like accordion or something. That could work.
Okay.
Oh, sure.
Okay, we look forward to that video. No, actually, I want to be there in person. We look forward to that. I'll climb Half Dome for that.
So for me, I don't know that I can narrow it down to one thing. Here's my problem. Like in saying, "Oh yeah, I would love to be able to do that," I would always revert to, well, if I actually worked hard at it, I could probably do it.
Well, that's the whole thing. So it's just Just say something.
I don't know.
There's no pressure here.
I would love to be able to do gymnastic stuff like backflips and my kids can do that stuff.
Still?
That would be cool.
My son is 6'1" and he did it was a few years ago, but they've been trained in all that stuff. Wow. And so here's the deal. I just heard on a podcast the other day that one of the best sports to get your kids in is gymnastics because those who do or coaches in other sports will always be able to, not always, it depends on the level of the coach, I suppose, but they will be able to pick out the kids that kid has had some sort of gymnastics training because of there's an actual word for it, the body awareness.
Yeah.
And the equilibrium and everything else. And I've talked to my oldest son about this, and because he's getting into snowboarding, and I'm like, well, do you feel like? And he goes, we're not and again, as a family, we're not the most coordinated family there is. But he senses that he has a balance, and my son, my middle son, he was at a job, and these guys were standing around, and they would worked out together, and they were totally impressed with him because he could walk on his hands and he can still do it.
Dang.
River.
Nice.
River can walk and River can do a backflip. And these people are like 6 foot, 6'1".
Yeah, and it's not like he practices every day or anything.
They're not small people. Yeah, and they can pull it off. And it's like, so because they did that as a child, they have this, I don't know, this thing in their brain that is still wired. They've connected those dots.
You need to put a trampoline on the property.
Oh boy, howdy.
That's where it starts.
Have you seen the Simpsons episode where he gets the free trampoline?
No, I never watched the
He has
Simpsons.
like neighbors over, and then they have triage because people are breaking their limbs on this thing.
That's why I've never allowed one at our house. My son wants one so bad.
I grew up on a trampoline. I've never broken anything. I can do a slip.
Well, you've got the modern day trampoline. We're talking about the 70s, 80s trampolines.
We didn't have like a net or anything. Honestly, I think the nets cause injury more though.
Oh, yeah?
Anyway.
Yeah, no kidding.
Build it into the ground. Have you seen them where they build it into the ground?
It's like a pit. Yeah.
Yeah, that I think is cool.
That is rad.
That is rad. Do you know what rad means?
You get less height.
You get less height.
I can pick up context clues.
It looks like you get less height because you're going from ground level.
Because you're not. You can get like over the house.
Oh, God. Above the ground. I see. So the 5 foot or whatever off the ground helps you get over the house. That's amazing.
All right, let's dive into our topic.
Okay, what is our topic? Holy cow.
How do we approach people?
So I thought about this. I thought about this in relation to, I think it actually can be related to the 5 stages of growth. All these things are intertwined, so to speak.
Or the 5 stages of acceptance.
Right? I'm sorry, yes.
Just wanted to clarify.
Thank you so much, because I'm just willy-nilly throwing things out there.
I don't want to confuse people and them think like Will Clark plays for the...
No, yeah, Will the Thrill.
the 49er.
Referred to the other episode.
At least you had the city right.
I did.
See, I'll give you credit for that.
And you didn't stop me, so... you know what I did? I closed my thing down. So, hold on. I did something wrong.
While you're looking for what you're looking for,
please.
I'm going to jump into this because we were talking about this before, right? So, this is how do we go to someone and say you've offended me, or hey, what you did isn't right, and I think we got to start with biblically speaking. Right. This isn't us saying, hey, go tell everybody what they're doing wrong.
Yes.
Because we got to take the plank out of our own eye first.
Oh, you're kidding me.
Before we go take the splinter out of
such a drag.
Someone else's. I know. Which is why
just lord stuff over people.
Which is why we put these episodes in this order, right? You got to learn to grow yourself first before you can go and help others. It's just like when you're on an airplane, what do they tell you when the oxygen mask falls? Put yours on first before you put it on the kids.
And I feel like the last thing we want to do when someone has like offended us or hurt us is to like help them come to a place of growth and like understanding and betterness. Right? We want to just tear them down.
Yeah.
Often.
Yeah. So you had a lot of great things, Caleb. I was going to let Caleb do this.
Caleb's going to do this episode.
Well, I was just speaking because I'm someone who's very bad with confrontation, and I've grown a lot over the years, and I've had people who have helped me learn how to handle things better. But I've had situations where I've like been really felt very attacked, and then became very defensive, and then went on the offensive against them and like just came into things very heated, not seeking understanding, but just seeking to like get my feelings out and or like feeling really helpless and then feeling like I need to thrash out. But yeah, I've had people that have helped me come to a much better place of like trying to seek understanding and having humility and coming at things from a better place rather than that really like heated place of.
So let me just say that even to hear your process right now sounds incredible.
Right.
Because even as you talk about it, it's not like you're going back there and going, oh my gosh, I was so horrible and such a loser. You talk about it like, hey, I learned some things. And I think that when we approach in a healthy way, we don't have, we have a better chance of not regretting. Like, now, should we do something that we regret? Being approached, going through the 5 stages and realizing, okay, this is not, I am not a problem. I have a problem. I think brings us to the place you're at, Caleb, where it's like you look back and go, yeah, I could have done that differently, and I'm okay with that, and I'm okay with where I am now because I learned.
Absolutely, yeah.
Well, kudos to you.
Like the first thing I hear is like, take a beat before you approach someone.
And that,
a beat, is that a cudgel? Is that like a rod or a thing? Something you would hit something with?
A beat is something we know Caroline doesn't have.
Honestly, that's something that's really hard though. Like
a beat.
It is.
For me, it was. I don't know if it is for everyone, but I think it is pretty commonly like when we feel those feelings, like it's so hard to like sit on that. Like we feel the need to react immediately or as quickly as possible to bring justice or like even, bring people onto our side or whatever it might be. We can't just like sit with that often and like let things simmer down. We need to stay in that. It feels like. Yeah.
Well, I think we get messed up in our head in the script and the things we believe and we don't deviate from whatever it is we believe.
Right.
That is it. That is the truth. That is what's happening. And then we get worked up and all this other stuff.
That person wanted to hurt me.
Yeah.
They meant that on purpose.
Which may not be the case at all. It often isn't. It's like they're clueless as to what's been done.
Right.
Sometimes there are things that are done that are meant to be hurtful, but not always.
Right.
Yes. So to this end, there's a number of directions we can go with this, right? But I think, just to get something out there on paper that we can start to stir in and reflect in, goes back to I've created I've created a curriculum that I use with clients. It uses the acronym V.O.I.C.E, V.O.I.C.E. Each letter stands for something. Actually, it was a part of an article. It came out of an article that I wrote relating to the actual name of the article is "You're Not the Boss of Me."
Oh. So you used it up a little bit and came with
5
voice.
ways adults act like children.
Oh gosh, there's only 5. How did you narrow that down?
Yeah, right. You got to combine a few.
I mean, some adults I know, maybe myself. There's way more than 5.
I've heard rumors. It's weird. And so the voice that helps us get past that, right? And so when we approach someone, when you just said take a beat, I mean that is spot on. And but again, that's a part of the equation. It's not the whole equation. But being able to pause and say, hold on, wait a second, instead of just reacting constantly.
Right.
So there's also a time. There's also a time factor if we don't. Well, again, let me just walk through voice and see if that kind of fits in every direction. So, the V in voice is vocabulary and expression. And what's going to be important is that we develop for ourselves an emotional vocabulary to express what's going on inside of us. Because if we don't, stuff gets pinned up. And it builds up, and then, and this goes back to the time factor. If we don't articulate and express what's going on with ourselves to ourselves first, then it has the potential to build up, and then we explode, and then it becomes unhealthy.
Right. So this is where identifying and processing emotions comes in. Right. What am I feeling?
Yes.
Why am I feeling this? What has me feeling this way?
Excellent. Yes. So that is number one. And all of these aren't necessarily in any particular order. Mm-hmm. They just kind of fit there in the acronym.
Yeah.
Voice. See?
I mean, I mean, if you did it any other way, you'd have soy-vey or something like that. Coy-vey.
Yeah. Who?
It could have been just.
Yeah, right.
Avoid. I mean,
avoid really wasn't going with a theme.
How many words can I come up with the letters V.O.I.C.E?
Very good. It's like I could have written a book on what is it? The backward E. Vikio.
Yeah.
It's like, look at this acronym I came up with. It's like, Chris, that's voice backward. I don't know what you're doing.
You would have found some language.
Something.
That you're like, this is German for.
That's right. So the vocabulary and expression is about being assertive, right? Not passive aggressive or aggressive.
But I love passive aggressive.
I know, it's so
amazing. It's everybody's favorite.
Well, you just think you know everything, don't you?
You bet I do.
Okay, so that's V. O is others or other perspective. So being able to accept, and this is to your point, Caleb, about having others speak into you. Like accepting that we don't own the truth and it has many facets and angles. Being able to draw others out and listen to their account, whether it's the other person you're approaching, or like, hey, I've got this tough situation. Being able to team up with a friend, not to gossip or anything, but to be able to say, hey, genuinely, I'm searching for some wisdom here, and of course, make sure they're a wise friend, not.
Right. Is to say not a wise ass, but
got it.
Either way.
Not that.
I think that's good.
So in that, right? So in that would be with the others would be seeking to understand maybe why that person did what they did.
Sure.
Right. And not just making the assumptions or right.
Yes, and I've said before, I'll say it again. It's like even Christ, right?
Yeah.
He is definitely concerned about what we do, but I think he's more concerned about why we do it.
Right.
Right.
I'm like, can we just say that again? Not just in like, yes, ultimately that's what Christ does for us, right?
Yes. Yeah.
But to do that for others, and I even think of as a mom doing that with my kid.
Yee! I know. Instead of just assuming that, like,
instead of just like disciplining the behavior, why don't we talk about why that behavior just happened?
Absolutely.
Like, let's get to the root, the heart. Like, let's.
Oh man, listen. If there's one thing I would have done, I would do differently about. There's several things I do differently about my parenting. But that's one of the big, huge ones is seeking as to why my kids would do certain things.
Right. Because
then not just stop that.
Right. Then all we're doing is working on the behavior modification and not the heart transformation, which we've talked about before.
Yes.
Okay. Sorry, that just hit like a
sure. So
direction.
others' perspective also surrounds, fight for understanding instead of fighting to be understood.
Yeah.
And there is a point at which we have to stand. I want to say stand our ground, but not in an aggressive way, but to, in integrity, express, again, have that vocabulary and expression in integrity, not to give up on that, right?
Yeah.
But also to, as much as we dig into ourselves and try to figure out what we're going through, give the same courtesy to the person we're approaching.
Yeah, I'm gonna slaughter this, but I just wrote this on I have a big chalkboard. It was something from the book Uninvited by Lisa Turkhurst.
Wow.
And she said, someone who is more about proving that they are right than trying to end it right is just proving themselves wrong.
Wow. Wait. Whoa.
And that like hit like when all we're trying to do is prove what I'm saying to you is right.
Yeah.
And not trying to end the situation right. Meaning like if it's a relationship to end that well, to end it on the right note, I guess.
Yeah.
As opposed to all we're doing is trying to prove that we're right.
Yeah.
And we're not caring about the relationship. And making
See,
that
that's
right.
interesting. That again, none of this stuff is easily done, or it's easier said than done. That's for sure. But then there's that. Then that gets into a situation where if you are trying to approach someone with your understanding of things and they are refusing to listen, then of course there's a boundary at which you say, you know what, I don't know that you're ready to talk about this or hear this.
Well, pearls to swine.
Yeah. Well, come on, swine. That's a little rough.
I mean, that's biblical.
Yeah, I think it's a different context. I'm not telling you because you're swine. There we go. Yeah, there we go. Okay.
He's tallying up the part.
So the I, we are on I now. If you're following at home, V.O.I.C.E is internal control.
Yeah.
And that is recognize when we are thinking emotionally and avoid the fight, which is anger, flight, which is avoidance, or freeze, which is guilt and shame. There's another F in there. Fawn. That's the one I was looking for.
That's my favorite one.
Like trying to appease, right? I wonder what that would be. Fight, flight. I think fawn would be related to avoidance. Or unless it gets into an attachment thing where it's like, no, I'm going to be by your side and whatever you need, I'll do.
I mean, I think it can kind of go either way, but it's appeasing and
yes. So recognizing again, this goes back to V and naming our emotions and understanding our emotional state, and like not just trying to control the other person.
Right.
So it's internal control, not just control the situation or control everybody else.
Right. This is where it's good. I'm gonna go into a little somatics here. This is where it's good, right? Because when we're heated, our thinking part of our brain kind of likes to turn off, and our emotional part of our brain is like, let's go.
Yes.
And so this is where it's good to stop and maybe do some butterfly tapping, go on a walk, do some bilateral stimulation, and get that thinking part of your brain.
Does drinking a beer, does that help?
No.
Are you sure?
We have to drink two because you got to get both.
Oh my gosh. So literally I have a story when I got upset at my wife one time, if you can believe it. And it was totally on me.
Yeah.
I don't know if I've told this story. I was trying to build her greenhouse and I called her over to help me, and she's walking around down on the ground, and I'm struggling with this piece of slipping in and slipping out, and I'm getting frustrated. And then she just makes a joke. Well, it's a good thing you called me over here. And I was like, well, if you don't want to be here, you don't have to be here. And she was dumbfounded.
Your emotions just
I was crazy. Just like over here or whatever. And so I am trying to convince her how she's wrong, which never goes well, if you know my wife. So she leaves, and I am stewing. And I'm building this greenhouse for her, and she doesn't appreciate, and all the scripts that I was going through.
Yeah.
So this relates to approaching someone too. So I think I'm calm.
Okay.
And I get down off the ladder and I go over to her once again and try to convince her how she's wrong, even though I was the one who made the attack. Guy. And she wasn't having it. She wasn't having it. And so I was like, fine. So I go into the house, I heat up some leftovers, I grab a beer, and I'm not just telling everybody go drink a beer because that's not appropriate for everybody. All right. But I sit on the porch and I start to eat my food, and I remember distinctly, it is burnt into my brain. I take a sip of that beer, and I'm looking down the shaft of the neck of the bottle, and I realize, Chris, you're an idiot.
In the best way. And the beer had to tell you that.
In the best way. Well, here's what was happening.
Yeah.
Believe it or not, cold water.
Yeah.
There's a physiological parasympathetic response that our bodies are able to go through just drinking a glass of cold water.
Yeah.
So who cares? Replace the beer with water.
Right.
And I realized, oh my gosh, Chris, you got mad at her for just making a joke, and like in your normal, not insane state of mind, you like her sense of humor.
Yeah.
And for you to just then try to convince her to make you feel better, that ain't going to happen. And so I approached her and I was like, babe, I am sorry. I am very sorry. And she saw it and everything else. But this all has to do with like, okay, I had to name what was going on with me, but I had to first get some sort of internal control here.
And that's why we take a beat.
Yes.
Right? We gotta just
every time you say take a beat, I think of like a small baseball bat. that's like, no, don't do that.
You want to hit somebody with
No,
it?
it's just take a beat. I've got
Take
this.
a beat.
I'm going to beat
just
you
like,
with this beat.
No.
just
take a moment, take a beat.
A pause.
A pause.
There we go.
A
Okay.
beat is a pause.
Well, you music heads.
Yeah. So Caleb's agreeing with me. You know, so you got to take that pause, but don't take that pause and sit and stew.
Right. Because that's what I was doing.
To like, again, butterfly tap, you know, like on your shoulders. Sorry. Or go for a walk
Nobody knows
and
what that
like,
means.
and like get the
Drink cold water.
Just do something to get the both sides of the brain activating, get the emotions calm down, start thinking again.
Jump in the pool.
Take a beat.
Jump in a body of water.
A body of water.
So accepting internal control is about accepting we must exercise adult responsibility over our actions using healthy boundaries. We'll get to that. Rather than attempt to control others or our environment, we must focus on controlling ourselves and our reaction to the environment.
Yes.
Okay, so where are we? We're on C, challenging of beliefs.
Okay. I don't like this one. Let's skip it.
So we are really good at challenging everybody else's beliefs. We are really bad at challenging our own beliefs. And Caleb, you mentioned this before we even started recording about having to like come from get a different perspective. What were you saying?
I'm trying to remember now.
Oh, great. Just when I need you the most.
Yeah, but I feel like, I don't know if this is along the same lines, but when we go into a situation and we're just thinking about all the ways someone else did something wrong.
Yes.
We don't try and understand their side or
that is absolutely
what they came
true.
from.
Yes.
We just go on the attack.
That is others' perspective and the belief that somehow they were out to get us or they intend evil or whatever is just, I mean, we got it. I mean, listen, my wife, she's put up with me for years, right? If that's, she really does want the best for me, so she is not out to get me.
But coming to hear, like, understand their side of the story and like being inquisitive and curious and
Yeah. Well, then challenging your beliefs. Then, do I have a part in this?
Ooh.
Yeah.
Did I do something?
Am I part of the cloudy? Yes.
Right.
Because it's so easy to just go in with our assumptions of what they intended toward us. And that could be totally off track.
Yeah.
And we have it's funny because when we are emotionally heated, we are insane. It really does also mimic like chemical intoxication to whatever degree.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so that we truly are not seeing it clearly, but in our head, it all fits together so perfectly. And so we just want to approach them and hammer them and have them confess and make this bad feeling in us go away, which won't happen. And that leads us to the final letter E, and that is establishing healthy boundaries, knowing where we stop and they start. This is an entirely different episode that we could go on and on and on. But that is recognizing that others or the environment are not responsible for our feelings or actions and cannot deliver us from them.
Right.
Others or the environment cannot deliver you from your feelings.
No.
That is something that is your responsibility. Because look, if they could, then you've given up your agency.
Yeah.
You've given up your autonomy. You've handed it over to them, and then you get disappointed and upset. Not you, but we get disappointed and upset when they don't deliver the way we think they should.
Right.
And that is something that happens again and again and again, and we continue to bang our heads against the wall thinking we're going to get different results.
Right. Because guess what? Sometimes you're going to approach, this happened to me. You approach people and, hey, I'm seeing this in you, or this offended me, or this, or something, whatever it is, right? You approach them with the thing and they said, you know what? Like, I went and prayed about that, and I don't feel like that's an issue that I have. You know, what are you going to do then?
Yeah, exactly.
And if you're allowing them to, like, if you're waiting for them to fix themselves so that you can fix your emotions, you're kind of screwed in that situation.
Yeah.
You know, and so it's, okay, well, thank you for hearing me. I'm going to go work on my own emotions over here now.
Yeah, there's only so much you can do.
Right. And really, we're not going to always get it right when we approach someone, meaning that because we bring in our own personal emotions and our own personal thoughts, it might not align with whatever they're thinking or feeling. And so we could be off. We could be wrong.
Sure. we could be off for crazy thing is we could be off for a number of different reasons.
Yes.
My wife and I were talking about this. We were just in a bunch of traffic, and so when I'm in a different city, I'm probably not the most like what happened? Oh, I had to get over in the lane, and I got in front of someone, and I want to be able to stick my hand out the window and wave and say, "Hey, I'm sorry," but this particular person was upset at me and got way in front of me. It just did the same thing to me. Came around, cut me off. And I'm like, okay. And she said, "Chris, it's so funny because you used to get so upset when someone would cut you off in traffic," and I did. Oh,
you took it personally.
Oh, I took it personally.
Like they're out to get you.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so, through my own process of therapy and through, if you're going to tell clients things, you better apply them to your own life. And
yes, this is true.
Yes. And so now I don't really get mad in traffic. And she goes, yeah. She said, you don't really get mad at traffic. And then I thought about it, and I go, actually, sometimes I still get annoyed, but it really does depend on, have I had a good night's sleep? Right? Am I eating properly? Am I taking care of myself, doing self-care stuff?
Yeah.
And that's another, I would even turn that back to V in the voices, a vocabulary for what we need as individuals and meeting those needs. So that we're not constantly in this state of stress where we're ready to just throw down at every occasion.
Right.
Yeah. So
that's very good.
So if you're looking for someone else to take care of you, that is, you're going to give up that boundary. You're going to give up your autonomy. And then approaching them will be very difficult. You'll either avoid it and hope they change and then be hurt and disappointed when they don't, or you'll show up with a beat. With a sharp metal thing on the front. No, you will approach them in the worst way possible because you're not caring for yourself in other ways.
Yeah. I like that.
Well, there you have it.
You were laughing earlier when we were talking. Were you thinking of something?
What was I laughing at? What were you talking about?
What I was talking about.
Several things.
I know. What I was saying, sometimes you tell people and they're like, oh, no, I don't have that issue. I noticed you smiling.
I was probably laughing at something. I don't know.
I was like, did you have something there? I just had to check. He was like,
I was thinking of something else. My head was in a whole another dimension.
Looking forward to what I'm doing tonight.
I was thinking about Chris with a little baseball bat running after me.
It's the fan bat. You're not supposed to hit people with it.
I love it.
There you have it. Okay,
right, so that's how we approach people.
Hopefully, that's some keys in approaching
there.
people.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember if we hit it, but humility, similarly to our last episode, is key here.
Yes.
But not humility means I'm going to roll over.
No, you're right. You're right.
It's seeking reconciliation and seeking to bring things back into good order, seeking the best of this other person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And maybe it won't get there, but if you start from that place, you might get there. Yeah. If you don't start from that place, you're not going to get there.
Totally.
So I think that folds into the O and others being able to say, look, I have a sin nature and I don't do things right a lot of the time, but I want to do well. And so I'm going to go with the attitude that maybe they're in a state where they're not doing well, and maybe they're struggling too. And I want the friendship is valuable to me, and I want to strengthen it. And by the way, approaching people can strengthen the relationship.
Yeah,
absolutely it can.
Yeah, I've had that happen so many times in relationships where it's like, wow, that's what a healthy relationship is.
Sure.
Yeah.
There you have it.
All right. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you. Thanks for joining us today as we continue our journey talking about life's many questions.
To stay connected with us, you can follow us at Downey Park Counseling on both Facebook and Instagram. You can also follow Caroline on Instagram at Relatable Caroline. And make sure you tune in next week for our next question.